Welcome back, fellow traders. Grab your gear and let's dive straight into today's Bitcoin chart. Before we jump in, a quick reminder. My trading is based on three things: trend, momentum, and levels. No fancy indicators, no secret formulas, just price action. The chart is constantly telling a story, and my job is to read it and build scenarios around it. So let's see what Bitcoin is telling us today. I always use a top-down analysis. That means I start with the higher time frame and work my way down to lower time frames where I build my trading scenarios. That's important because it keeps me from getting swept away by the lower time frame currents and losing sight of where the bigger tide is moving. On the 1-day and 4-hour charts, I mark the major support and resistance areas. These are areas where the market reacted aggressively in the past. Buyers or sellers stepped in with enough conviction to move price quickly away from those levels. Because of that, price often reacts to those same areas again in the future. And if I want to take the highest quality trades, I want those trades to happen inside higher time frame zones. Based on that, we can identify a support area around 60,000 and another one at around 54,000. The 60,000 support area has already been tested back in February, but for now, Bitcoin is still holding above it. However, if we look at the current market structure, we're still in a downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows. And as long as that remains the case, there is a realistic possibility that Bitcoin eventually breaks below this support and moves down toward the 54,000 area. For Bitcoin to break this higher timeframe downtrend, we would need to see a break of structure. In other words, price would need to reclaim and break above the major resistance area around 80,000. Until that happens, the bigger picture remains bearish. Bitcoin still has a long swim ahead before reaching this major resistance area. That's why I'm dropping down to the 4-hour chart to map out some important levels between the current price and the 80,000 zone. The first area I'm watching is right here around 64,000. Then we have another interesting zone up here at roughly 67,000. And before we move on, I'm going to adjust this support area slightly to better reflect the latest price action. Now let's move down to the 1-hour chart. This is where I fine-tune the levels even further. A little adjustment here, and another one here. Nothing complicated, just making sure the levels accurately reflect what the market has been respecting. Alright, now that we have our higher time frame roadmap, let's move down to the 15-minute chart and start building some trading scenarios. This level has already been tested. Because of that, I'm not particularly interested in a trade around it anymore. The trades in this area have already happened. This one over here, and this one right here. Beautiful trades. Higher time frame resistance. Local trend reversal. Entry. Done. Exactly what I'm looking for. But let's focus on what might come next. If price continues moving higher, I expect this level to get broken. Because of that, I'm more interested in the higher resistance zone, around 67,000. If price reaches that area, I'll be looking for a similar trend reversal setup before considering a short position. Everything that happens between these levels doesn't bother me. That's just noise. I'm not here to catch every wave in the ocean. I'm waiting for the waves that offer the best risk-to-reward opportunities, and those opportunities tend to happen around higher time frame levels. The support side looks very similar. Price has already tested this level, which created a nice long opportunity right here. If price comes back down before reclaiming the 64,000 area, I'm not interested in taking another long position. Why? Because the downtrend would still be intact. And if the downtrend remains intact, the most logical next step is a continuation lower and eventually a new lower low. Only if Bitcoin starts reclaiming key resistance levels, such as 64,000, would we begin seeing the first signs that the higher timeframe structure could be shifting. For new long positions, I'm much more interested in the next major support area, around 54,000. So my game plan is simple. If Bitcoin pushes into resistance, I'll be watching for short opportunities. If Bitcoin loses support, I'll be watching the next higher timeframe area around 54,000. Until then, I'm staying patient and letting the market come to me, because the best trades aren't forced, they're caught. If you enjoyed this analysis, consider subscribing and joining me on my journey to becoming a profitable Bitcoin trader.